Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So I hope that you are doing well. If you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscription button below. Also, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Rhonda_Mary, or I am RhondaMary. All of this information on where to find me is over on RhondaMary.com. Also, if you would like to support this channel, you can go grab you one of these There's No Freedom Without Medical Freedom sweatshirts over on RhondaMary.com. All right. Now that we have that out of the way, let me know as you guys are coming into the room. Hey, King BJ. Hey, JB1. Tonight we are going to talk about a couple of things. Hey, Pilu. We're going to talk about a couple of things, okay? And the theme for tonight is never bend the knee, all right? So we're gonna talk about Kanye West walking out. I think this was last night on Timcast. Also, we're gonna be talking about here Elon Musk's fight with Apple, and we're also going to be talking about what is currently going on in China and why some of these fights, okay, these wars that are going on are so important and how that relates to what is currently going on right now in China. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with looking at a clip from last night, right as the few minutes before Kanye West decided to walk out of the Timcast podcast. Okay, keep in mind that Timcast has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He is a very popular. I don't even really know his political leaning. I guess you could say he leans conservative, maybe more as of late. Um, but yeah, I don't even know how to describe all this. So some of you guys may be familiar with him, but let's go ahead and take a look at this clip and talk a little bit about why everybody is talking about this. Okay, so oh no. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Could y'all see the video? Just no sounds? Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all, give me 1 second. I gotta fix the sound thing. Okay. So y'all can hear it but can't see it. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Can y'all hear this? That's a like testing. Okay, let me know. Let me know if y'all can hear that. Could y'all just hear the testing sound? Okay. So let's try this again. Let's try this one more time. I'm sorry about that, y'all. I was thinking y'all could hear the whole time. All right. Okay, so we're gonna try this one more time. I apologize, you guys, having some technical difficulties. Not sure why. But let me know now if you guys can't hear the sounds. And I'm checking as well to see. Let me know if you guys can hear that. Okay, so anyway, I have no clue what's going on. Um, People still saying no sound. Okay, I'm gonna try one more thing, and then if this doesn't work, I'll just give y'all a synopsis of the video, and then we'll move on. I think y'all still can't hear it. Yeah, okay. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. It's probably a conspiracy. They have to get me.
Okay. I don't.
They have to get me, y'all. We can't say who it is though. Anyway, okay. I don't know. Okay, let's move on because I don't know. I haven't had this problem with my sound and sharing the screen. But anyway, so just for some of you that may have not seen the video, Kanye West is basically during this interview, he has with him Nick Fuentes and Milo. I don't even know how to say his last name. Milo, whatever. uh and he's basically saying, oh, he think that this is a test, like a spiritual religious test for him, and he's feeling like MLK because as all these things are happening to him with the banking and Adidas and Gap, that he's kind of just moving through it. And so he's just basically talking about his struggle with that. And then Tim Pool goes on to say, well, yeah, I do think that they are giving you a really hard time. And Kanye West says, well, who is they? And Tim Pool says, well, I'm not I don't think that they is who you think they is. I think they is the media. You think they is the word we can't say. I'm not gonna say it. The Jews. But and so when Tim Pool doesn't respond how Kanye West wants him to, Kanye West leaves the building. Okay. He leaves the building. They call for a car. Tim Pool goes on to say, okay, well, you came on my show. What do you expect? Do you expect no pushback? Like, this is my show. Did you think I was just going to sit here and let you talk? It's some of the things he pretty much said after Kanye left the room. Now, a couple of things. First of all, I believe that Kanye at this point is completely. Thank you to Andre Thomas that just sent the cash out for $50. Thank you so much for your support. Um, but first of all, okay, let's not ignore the fact that Kanye West at this point has gone so far for clout and want to be heard and want to be seen that he is now surrounding himself with right out clowns. Okay, I do not care if you like these people, that is your preference. However, Milo, whatever his name is, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna say Milo because that's what it looked like to me. But I think I be seeing some people call him Milo. Okay, I am not that abreast of Milo as a personality, like his politics and all of this stuff. I know that he's a very controversial figure. However, I am not super familiar with him, maybe because he was banished from the internet around the time that I started doing YouTube, or I don't even really know when. I'm just not familiar with him. However, I'm familiar with him enough to know two things. One of them being that he is or was, I'll say was for the sake of, everybody deserve redemption or whatever the case may be, but he was a very disturbed person. Okay, he on went on the Joe Rogan show. This is available, and I'll drop the link, or maybe I'll post it I'll post it on Twitter later. So go follow me on Twitter if you're not following me. I am RhondaMary. I'll post a link where he was on Joe Rogan and basically was talking around the fact that, oh, let me fix my audio because I'm about to be mad if this is not sounding right. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I am going to post that clip, but he was basically on Joe Rogan talking about the fact that, he was in a child man relationship with a priest, okay? With the actual priest, and he was basically romanticizing the relationship and talking about how he at 14 years old having these relationships with these pedophiles, okay? And literally sitting there romanticizing this, then goes on to talk about how in more recent years he was in Hollywood and he would be going to these parties, and how some of these people in Hollywood was taking advantage of these young boys, and kind of just talking about it casually. And makes me sick to my stomach even watching how he and Joe Rogan could make these jokes and talk about it so casually. Something that I do not play about is when it comes to children and protecting the innocence of children. So first of all, for Kanye West to be out here running around with this guy who, I don't want to go as far as to say it's like mental illness, like I'm trying to diagnose him, but I would describe that person to be a little disturbed. You know what I mean? You're romanticizing a pedophilic relationship. You are covering for pedophiles in Hollywood, okay? And that doesn't even begin to even touch on the reasons why he fell out with the Republican Party, which I don't even know all the history of. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with him as a personality or whatever, but I do know that at some point him and Trump was beefing, and he basically was saying, I'm gonna tear the Republican Party, I'm gonna burn it to the ground, da 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 da. And so now Kanye West is teaming up with him and Nick Fuentes, and he said off the wall stuff about Black people, about Jews, about women. And then you will have people on Twitter, you falling for the liberal media, you don't know what you're talking about, da 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 da. I have seen Nick Fuentes say things myself that I'm like, yeah, that's like, why would you say that? But whatever, like that's your thing, that's what you into, cool. Like, I don't think at no point we should try to shut these people up, because I really think these people should be exposed for the people that they are, and so, and a lot of the Nick Fuentes, you really don't really know if he be trolling, because some of the things he says and does is like so over the top and would seemingly be outrageous. But I don't know, you never really know. And I'll just call him a racist because he's described his own self as such. But anyway, and so for Kanye West to be rolling around with these people, it's like it's gotten so to a point where I don't really know what it is. I don't want to really make any excuses for him. He is making this choice to do so. And how that is going to affect him in the long run, I don't know. But I'm sure a lot of people have written him off. Even Trump looked like coming, he made on Truth Social look like he was just kind of throwing them to the wolves, like, you bringing these people to dinner that I don't even know, and things like this. But anyway, getting back to the Tim Pool video, Kanye West came into the room and brought up the anti-Semitic thing. Tim Pool didn't bring it up. Kanye West wanted to talk about it. Now, I do wonder, will Tim Pool look back at his career and be like, dang, I really blew it. Like, this was my biggest guest. This was my biggest moment. This was probably my highest rating. And I let Kanye West walk out in 10 minutes. However, I watched some of his stuff like in previous years, but not really recently. So I cannot speak to like his character and if he was being genuine in the fact of, oh, well, because Tim Pool was like, well, I don't think that we should base an entire group on their identity. And maybe he's just trying to be protected from YouTube. Maybe he's scared to speak up against, whether people want to admit it or not. Like, to Dave Chappelle's point, they've almost proved Kanye West's point that with everything that's been happening with the banking, with his deals being pulled. I mean, obviously, he offended some very, very powerful people. So possibly Tim Pool could have been taking this stance because it's like, well, I don't want these problems. YouTube is my, my golden calf. Like, this is how I make my money, so I don't want to step on any toes. And I could somewhat see that because he kept interjecting that. Like, to me, you already said it once. You already said how you feel. You don't have to keep saying, but, I don't agree with that. So it did a little bit come off like that. But however, like I said, I don't know enough about Tim Cass to say, oh, well, this is not his true opinion, like he really feels this way. But I will say that he contradicted himself when he said, oh, we shouldn't look at people as a group, or we shouldn't generalize. But then he goes on to say, Kanye West, you'll be great for the black vote. And it's like, okay, but some black people don't even like Kanye West. So, I feel like on both ends, I feel like both of them had missteps. Like, I feel like even with Kanye West, to just get up and leave the room and not go on to further express your point, to me, I'm just trying to make me seem like I'm trying to think of what would make me like just be like, yeah, I'm walking out of this interview. Because you can't make the person agree with you. And in an interview, like, I get to ask you questions style, you're going to, at least from a good journalist, get some pushback. But I suppose from Kanye West's point of view, it's like, I've said this, I'm tired of saying it. But then again, to argue against my own point, he's the one that came in the room and brought that up. Tim Pool never brought it up. So it's almost like, when you really look down at it, it's like Kanye West came into the room, he brought it up, he wanted to be the authority figure on it, he didn't want any pushback, he just wanted to go on and say what he wanted to say without, like, I don't know. I will say though, regardless of how I feel about Kanye West at this point, because to me, I do think that at this point, in some ways, I think Kanye West is going obnoxious and over the top in how he's going about things. I was really interested to see, why are you running around with these two people? I think that's a big reason why a lot of people tuned in, because they did want to hear Kanye West talk. They weren't really going to hear Tim Pool and like his opinion. And so I was looking to see, okay, well, what are the inner workings of, like, why are you doing all this? Why are you going about it this way? This, that, and the other. But however, we didn't get that opportunity. Maybe it'll be done in another format, but that, that remains to be seen. So at this point, it's kind of like appearing, I don't want to say, Kanye West is not a like linear person, like a linear thinker, or how he puts concepts together, or how he expresses himself and things like that. And so his thoughts, how he comes off, can seem erratic, all over the place. But then sometimes when you listen to him in longer format, you get a better understanding. But with all of that said, even with me viewing him that way currently, something has to be said. I do appreciate a person that could say, nah, I said what I said. I said, not to go full Nene Leaks on you. I said what I said. In today's current climate, it takes guts to be a 10 toes down, This is what I said. I'm not backing off. I've lost money. I've lost opportunities. I've lost friendships. I've lost so much. And I would rather walk out on this interview than sit here and try to uh dignify my own experience again and again. So, regardless of how I overall feel about Kanye West, I think that that glimmer of that is something to be said in a current generation where most people ain't willing to stand on nothing, speak on nothing, right? Even as we recently look at the Balenciaga fiasco with the childs and all that, the number of celebrities that were even willing to stand up was practically minuscule, right? And another thing that was interesting, Kanye West was like, yeah, I'm gonna get on LeBron in a second. And I'm thinking like, dang, I want to hear what he's about to say about LeBron, because it's clear to me, and I would think it would be to a lot of you guys too, that these celebrities in a lot of ways are puppeteered. They get their marching orders from the higher ups. They're told what they're allowed to say and not allowed to say. And that's why I keep coming back to the thought that, even with some of the ridiculous things that I think Kanye West does and he says, and things that look questionable, and I have no problem speaking out about those things. Even I don't really like the fact that I don't appreciate you running around with these people when I know for a fact some people that's doing the actual work, some very dope people that Kanye West knows, has connected with, and he could highlight these people. Like, you could give them clout, their organizations, what they're doing, how they're helping the world, but you're running around with people that that have gone so far, on what would be considered like the fringes. And I want to be careful with even how I'm saying that, because I support people being able to say what they want, but that doesn't mean I have to support the person. Like, does that make sense? And I know how the media tries to malign people. And I think that it is important that we go and listen to people for ourselves to know what's going on. So I'm not the type of person to just throw everybody in a box without being like, okay, let me hear what this person is talking about. But I think, with how the current culture is swaying, for anybody to be willing to take those arrows and those darts, whatever, I think it takes a lot. So I think it's something to be said about the position that he's put himself in. Christopher Colbert said, right, they shouldn't be censored, just collectively ignored. But okay, y'all, so let's keep moving on. Now let's talk a little bit about what is going on over here with Elon Musk and Apple. So if you guys don't know, Elon Musk recently came out with a tweet basically implying that Apple is thinking about removing the Twitter app from its platform, from the Apple Store. Let's go ahead and take a look at this article. Elon Musk, this is according to CNN.com. Elon Musk claims Apple has threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store. Elon Musk on Monday claimed that Apple has threatened to pull Twitter from its iOS App Store, a move that could be devastating to the company. Musk just acquired for $44 billion. Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why, Musk said in one of his several tweets Monday, taking aim at Apple and its CEO for alleged moves that could undermine Twitter's business. In another tweet, Musk claimed that Apple has mostly stopped advertising on Twitter. Do they hate free speech in America? He said, in an apparent reference to his oft stated desire to bolster his idea of free speech on the platform. What's going on here? Musk added in a follow up tweet. He also criticized Apple's size, claimed it engages in censorship, and called out the 30% transaction fee Apple charges large app developers to be listed in its App Store. So this just goes on to talk about this and talk about their tenuous relationship and, how Google along with Apple have been like almost like gatekeepers and things like that, and how if Twitter was to be removed, how it would devastate Twitter and basically Elon Musk investment. Now, first things first, as far as the advertising, whether you like it or not, people get a say. People get a say of where they are spending their dollars. You cannot force Apple to pay you. You cannot force Apple to support you. People get to vote with their dollars. So, unfortunately, even though that would, I would think, obviously be a hit to Twitter and Elon Musk, he cannot force them to continue advertising with them. Now, he can critique them and bring attention to it and say, hey, do you guys see what is happening and how they are intentionally, doing this? He can do that all day long, but you cannot force anybody to spend their money with you. Well, unless you get to be a monopoly, I suppose, mostly like Google and Apple. Okay. Um, but yeah, and even apart from that, I think it's clear to us, all of us, what is happening. They are absolutely giving Elon a hard time. They are absolutely trying to make them bend the knee. Every single day I get on there are legacy blue checks. I'm kind of upset that I just can't say blue checks to disparage these people anymore. However, I'll just call them legacy blue checks, okay? There are legacy blue checks every single day when I get on Twitter who continue bashing the platform, talking about they're leaving the platform, talking about the platform as a platform for hate speech, yet they still have not left the platform. Okay? If you can figure that out, please let me know. But it seems to me that you have a lot of people trying to control the narrative. And that's what's so scary about Twitter. And they know it. They know it. Do you know why? Because it's the regular, everyday people like you and I that actually run Twitter, that actually make it the best. Also, it is fast news and it's easily digestible because you can add links, you can add short videos, and because of the short descriptions or captions or tweets, right? And so they are getting mad. I fully believe that the narrative is slipping from them. When child pornography was completely a issue on a issue on Twitter, you did not see all these people threatening to remove it, okay? To remove it from the App Store. You didn't see people like MSNBC saying, "Oh, we're gonna suspend, our service, our account, or suspend our advertising," or all of these other corporations and agencies that are, "Oh, we're gonna, watch." Even a press secretary goes on to say this. Let me show you guys. Well, I really don't know if y'all gonna be able to hear it. That's the sad part. But let's see, because it may have just been that one video earlier on. Probably not, but it's a conspiracy. They're they have to get me, y'all. Let me know if y'all can hear that, or it's still doing something weird. Can y'all hear that? Let me know in the chat if y'all can hear the video I was just playing. Okay, so I think okay, so that was the press secretary basically saying that, we're going to be monitoring what Twitter is doing. We're looking at the reports you guys are sending us about hate being incited and da 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 da. It's so funny because when you look at these legacy blue checks, very rarely do they actually point to the inciting violence that they're talking about. Now, there absolutely was a spike in people using the N word initially when Elon took over Twitter. And you obviously had a lot of trolls that were trying to push the boundaries and really seeing if Twitter was going to be a quote unquote free speech platform. And so you absolutely had that particular word that was spiking at that time, according to Elon. And a lot of people were pointing it out and reposting, right? And Sean King, for example, will retweet somebody and they will be using the hard ER, even though you can use it with the A every single day on the app, right? But anyway, so I guess Twitter don't the hate speech algorithm doesn't account for when it has an A at the end, regardless of who says it, right? They're not tracking and set the account and says, "Oh, a white user on Twitter used the A at the end, so we're gonna count that as hate speech. But then the algorithm just counts anybody who says it with an ER. And this is bringing something to my mind. Actually, I saw a tweet. I think this was earlier today, and I'm like, this is completely ridiculous. They brought it from TikTok over to Twitter, and it was a black girl saying me powering up to get ready to use the N word with the hard ER because I can. And I'm like, this is the type of stuff, the trolling, what way does that count to the algorithm? Would that count as hate speech? It's like things that can't really be accounted for. And yes, these wild things happen not only on Twitter, but also things that are happening over there on TikTok. And we're going to talk about TikTok in a second. But going back to my original point, so you did have a spike in that particular word, but even using that word right now, are you just counting? Because the specific statement they say is inciting violence, right? And we have to talk about what that actually means. And I think why I'm giving the N word as the example here is because that's basically what everybody was talking about when Elon Musk took over Twitter. But anyway, you had a spike in that, right? At least Elon says that has now subsided and you see less hate speech. So, and we don't know what hate speech is at Twitter. I don't believe we have access to that information, at least not as of now. We do not know what all keywords that includes. We can assume, but we don't really know. But according to a chart that Elon posted, it has now lower levels than before he took over Twitter, right? And so you'll have people like the press secretary say, oh, we're seeing your reports of people inciting violence. Is this against, is that bomb threats? Is it mass shooting threats? Because that what I would assume, like the type of things when you say inciting violence. But then some of these people that are saying inciting violence just use these terms so loosely until they water down the meaning, of what that actually is. To a person like Janine Pierre, inciting violence could mean misgendering somebody, right? And to somebody else, that you wouldn't describe that as inciting violence, right? You may say, oh, well, it's rude, it's inconsiderate. So it's so many things to weigh here. And that's why they talk in these just very, elusive, oh, we're getting the reports about inciting violence without really pointing to this is what we're seeing. This is who said it. This is who's doing it. This is who these groups are attached to. And they do that for a reason. They implant these things into your head, and then you got the legacy blue checks. Oh, this is how you should feel about Twitter. We want to control the narrative and tell you that, oh, this is now a hate speech platform. And most people are just moving on with their lives. It's like another day on Twitter. I've actually been seeing, I used to randomly see, and this is why Twitter is not good for children. I hope y'all don't have y'all like children on Twitter. But you can just randomly see porn coming across your timeline for absolutely no reason. I'm not freaking following porn sites, right? But you have a lot of OnlyFans people on there, and it's so easy for something. Even if it's now to the point where Twitter, nobody you followed had to like it or retweet it, and it could still show up on your main thing. So I can say from personal experience, I've been seeing way less of that, thankfully. But other than that, from my personal experience, it's just been like a regular day on Twitter. And so I would love for some of these people that just keep using these terms to be way more specific about who's doing what's being said, what's being done. Because if not, it's starting to look like they are specifically targeting and out to get Elon Musk. Specifically, when you have a app like TikTok and some of the stuff that I see coming over to Instagram, I'm not like, I'll post some of my stuff on TikTok, but I don't actively use TikTok. Some of the stuff that I see coming over to Instagram and Twitter from TikTok is so beyond what I see on Twitter and Instagram to me, as far as like the edginess and the boundaries that people push. I'm talking about, I'd be like, wow, like TikTok is really crazy and can be really dark. And I'm not on TikTok for real. And even considering how people are now trying to create this narrative about Twitter, where TikTok is literally a Chinese or ran app or China adjacent, however you want to describe it, with news recently coming out. I think this was maybe in the last few months or so, that they absolutely do have access to the user's data, information. People in like government officials are suggesting that it is a propaganda tool. It can be used as a tool or a weapon against Americans or against the American government, and all these things, other things that are being said about TikTok. And you see even the levels of influence that TikTok has specifically on, I think maybe like high schoolers, early like college students and things like this. Very influential app, and all of them are to some degree, but people actual government officials have concerns about this. But to see everybody kind of pointing their finger or thumbing their nose at Twitter is laughable. It's laughable when you see some of the stuff that's coming over there from TikTok. And I believe that they just, because, pretty much most of these things linked to China is going to still have some heavy censorship. I've been kicked off over there on TikTok before for sharing like Second Amendment gun friendly content. Don't know how long they're gonna let me be over there, so I've been kind of just playing it cool and taking it slow, but it does give me an opportunity to reach people that I cannot reach in other arenas, to spread the message of self-protection, gun safety, liberty, freedom, sovereignty, all these other things that are really important, particularly for the younger generations. And so, but that doesn't stop the fact of, TikTok and it being potential propaganda tool, a weapon, or whatever these other things that the government, and it's been several government officials that have come out with these concerns about, TikTok. But there's clearly, let me see. There's clearly some nitpicking, going on with Elon Musk, and I believe it to be, and especially I think was even more so making me feel like that is when I'm seeing a lot of legacy blue checks. I feel like we've somewhat got over the hump of the transition of Twitter going over to Elon Musk, got over the hump of the initial spike of, certain like offensive terms and what is currently considered hate speech over at Twitter and things like that. But yet every single time you get on there, it's still people with these huge amount of followers that's like, oh, this platform, da 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 da. And my thing is, to me, if you feel like something is so bad, I mean, like this is earth shattering, unbelievably unacceptable, hate, violence, like, why are you there? Why are you there? It's something. Why are you there? Like, something's not adding up. To me, either you're not a person of principle, you're not a person of principle. You're choosing to stay somewhere where you're saying it should be banned. Like, you're saying people should not allowed to be there while you're actively there, which makes me think that the only reason is you want to control the narrative. That's the actual truth of the matter. You got to watch out for those people though. Like, how can you be a good, you're just not a person. You're not a principled person. That doesn't add up. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to stay somewhere that I feel like is all these terrible, awful, the world is ending, this is the worst thing you could do, say, or be place. I'm not going to continue to be that place and feed into that place. So really, no, I don't have an OnlyFans. Hi wise. Hey, so let's talk about China before we get out of here tonight. So if you guys don't know, actually, let me play the video. And the good thing about this video is the sound is not important to this video because I don't know what's been going on with my sound tonight. But let's take a look at this video. And all right, so you guys see what's going on there. Now, if you don't know, this is a big deal. And if you don't know, and if you didn't know, it's probably because many platforms are currently censoring what is going on or allowed to come out of China. Now, I would say that could be due to China. I think that's fair to currently, as we know, mostly put the blame on China because more times than not, they have a pretty close knit way of how they handle, their perception, what's allowed to come out of China, be said about China. Okay. We talked about China quite a lot with their social credit score, their authoritarianism, and all of these other things, their communist regime. And now you have a protest that is going on there and it's becoming very heated due to the fact that China has been pushing for a zero COVID. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what that means. So, China, there have been protests breaking out all over China due to the fact that they want absolutely zero infections before they are willing to allow people to just live a normal life. Okay. Zero infections. Now, if you know anything about COVID, if you know anything about viruses in general, this is absolutely absurd and absolutely asinine. There are so many abuses right now, human rights violations, mass surveillance, over policing, all being done in the name of zero COVID in China. And it has been going on for over 100 days at this point, and people are sick and tired. You can only keep your boot on people for so long before they rise up. It is innate in us to long and desire for freedom and human rights. Now, the crazy part about that is that I think these things go in cycles. Sometimes for some people, it takes it getting really bad for them to actually understand what freedom is, what human dignity is, and you start to remove or dishonor people's human dignity when you dishonor and deny them their human rights. And that's exactly what's happening over here in China. And people are sick and tired of it. They're sick and tired. They are rebelling. Okay. And so, believe it or not, Twitter is one of the few places that is not censoring or heavily censoring this information that is coming out of China. I know that some people may not like Elon Musk, even I myself. I wouldn't. I just. I have a hard time trusting people. I have a big skepticism of people. I feel like a lot of these people, a lot of times, I have concerns that they are control opposition. I feel like they are being puppeteered. I feel that you really don't know. You really don't know. And I think that we have to have a very healthy skepticism with people that are being propped up to be heroes or people that are being propped up in the spotlight and things like this. So I think it's good to just have a healthy skepticism and make sure we're being on our toes. Make sure we're being on our P's and Q's about the mission is always the mission, regardless of the soldier, the whoever that's on the chessboard at the time. The mission is always a mission. Freedom of speech, respecting human rights, respecting human liberty. So regardless of who's in the position at that time, we need to make sure that we're always, supporting the actual mission and the standard. And so one way that people are really benefiting right now is that Twitter is spreading the message of what's happening in China, possibly the fastest, and it's making the easiest to get the message out of what's actually happening in China. And even still, some of the videos and things coming out of China are very limited. I want us to take a quick look at this article. Okay, making sure y'all could still hear me. Okay, let's take a quick look at this article. Okay, so this is according to Access.com. The fight against China's protest censorship. Amid an unprecedented swell of public anger against the Chinese government, internet users in China are racing to screenshot and repost content related to the COVID protests as censors try to scrub social media spaces of dissent. Why it matters? Videos and photos posted to social media are one of the only ways to get information about the protest, since information is tightly controlled in China and journalism in the country is heavily restricted. Driving the news, the largest protest since the Tiananmen pro-democracy movement in 1989, having been spread across China in response to pandemic policies that have seen people locked in their apartments for weeks or even months at a time, damaged the economy, and made daily life uncertain for hundreds of millions of people. When asked at a press briefing on Monday if China would end the zero COVID policy due to the protests, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said, "What you mentioned does not reflect what actually happened." He added that China would continue to adjust its policies in line with its stated pandemic prevention measures. Let me tell y'all something. This is why I harp on this. Regardless of how unpopular it is, regardless of who is talking about it, when they're talking about it, when it's viral on Twitter, when it's cool, when it's not, why I am so adamant about this freedom and respecting and supporting human rights is the fact that people really do not understand how close we are or could be to being China. Okay. I honestly believe if Americans had not pushed back the way we did, even at the time of the COVID lockdowns, some people wrote me off. Some people was very rude to me. Some people called me everything but a child of God. Some people accused me of apparently I was getting some type of favor or financial financial benefit from speaking out about the things that were wrong during the COVID lockdowns, which now that this information has come out, these people have completely disappeared. They don't come back and apologize. They don't say anything. They don't say, "Hey, I'm sorry for cursing your name," you know. However, many of us had these concerns, and rightfully so, that if we had not pushed back, stood up, said no to the mask, I never quite got kicked off a plane, but I had my own problems with that. Yeah, did I get kicked out of a restaurant? I didn't get kicked out. I was like at places, people trying to raise their voice at me. They look at me and they think, "Oh, she's just as sweet. Oh, she's just, and so how people can get. And you have people saying things, right? However, many people, if they have not seen by now, it may be several years, or maybe their hypocrisy continues to blind them to a fault. However, you have people like I and probably yourself that were out here really standing up for people's human rights. A lot of people may look at that as or at the time as selfish, as wrong. But if we are not standing for the rights of the individual, then you have the possibility to lose it all. And to kind of put this into frame, when you have a China that everything is based on communism, everything is based on the greater good, okay? That means that you don't have individual rights. There's no bigger minority than the individual, than the person that sometimes has to say a lot, stand alone and say, "Hey, I am not cool with that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of that. What social contract did I sign that says that I want to be regulated to my home for over 100 days, right?" But when you're in a place like China, they don't care about you as an individual. It's the collective. And even as they're telling you, "Oh, it's for the benefit of the collective," You really think that the elites in China not kicking their feet up, not doing what they want to do? Like, 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 let's be for real. Let's think about this for a second. And so, because people didn't stand up and they allowed the government to go further and further and further and further, you now have it where it's now becoming this explosive. We have to fight. We have to protest. We have to demonstrate. This might get violent. This might get ugly. This has now become a crisis. When you give these people an inch, they take a mile. And that's what some of us have been trying to explain. You let them go with it for so long, they're going to test you and do more and take more and give you more restrictions and pull back on more freedom. And before you know it, it's just a snowball that keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so when people that look at these other countries, that study history, that read different sources, that start putting two and two together, and they look and they say, this is looking like that thing that I'm familiar with that happened at one time or happened over there. And this is not adding up. Something doesn't seem right about this. I think that we should probably start pumping the brakes on this now before we let it get too far. And so that's what you had Americans do. You had Americans start turning to the courts saying, hey, we need this back pay in New York because y'all unjustly put us out of jobs. Hey, you cannot suspend people's Second Amendment rights because of a virus, because of a flu, impeding our access to get our licenses to carry and all these other things. There's just so much that was going on at the time. People fighting to maintain their religious exemptions and all these other things. Even now, they're just now coming out, the FDA. Let me show you guys this. They're just now backtracking on the ivermectin. Just now. This is according to WIBC.com. FDA claims they only recommended not taking ivermectin for COVID a year after posting, "You are not a horse." The FDA was posting, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow." Seriously, y'all, stop it. Stop taking the ivermectin. Don't take the ivermectin. They came out, they pummeled Joe Rogan. They called this man every joke, joked about him being a horse. You had so much of the media took it on. They had the world laughing at him, clowning him, trying to make a fool out of him. And then they come back and say, "Oh, a year later, oh, it was just a recommendation. It was just we weren't really calling you a horse. We weren't really trying to coerce you. We weren't really trying to manipulate you. We weren't really trying to lie to you. We weren't trying to use manipulation tactics to make you feel dumb, to doubt yourself, to doubt your God-given immunity." Our bad. Our bad. It was just a little bit of a recommendation. No, it was propaganda. It was propaganda. That's what it was. And you know what the unfortunate part about it is? The initial lie will never go as far as the truth. Not at this point. It's unfortunate. I mean, you practically had the whole world, and that's why they try to censor the Joe Rogans. That's why they want to censor Twitter, because they want to control the narrative. I don't, it pains me, y'all. It pains me because I wish that I know a few hundred people will see this video, but I pray to God that it could be thousands, hundreds of thousands, because it pains me to see the way that people have been lied to, manipulated, their intellect undermined, coerced. I mean, it's almost satanic what these people have done. It's satanic what these people have done to humans. And I still struggle around this concept because some people, I feel like their hearts were really in the right place. I feel like you had some people that were genuinely taking care of their elderly family members and really just wanted the best. And we were under a $1 billion propaganda machine. This is no joke. We're still at war. The war is not over. We were under a $1 billion propaganda machine, so it's no joke. And my heart goes out to people that genuinely just wanted to do the best thing. But then, that something in me starts to remember the people that said that we should be banished from society, the people that said that we should forcibly be masked, forcibly be vaxxed, that our children should be kicked out of schools, that we should not be allowed to work. The people that screamed at us, wagged their fingers, the people that said that we shouldn't be invited into grocery stores. Oh, the vengeance that I feel when I remember, and they want us to forget because they want amnesty. Oh, it was just a recommendation. Oh, we didn't know any better at the time. Oh, the science just changes. The anger that I feel for these people that will probably never apologize, probably will go to the grave trying to pretend that this wasn't the propaganda, the war, the absolute war that it was. And now that we can see what's going on in China, we had every right to have concerns and the fears. I do not have the article pulled up right now, but I'm pretty sure most of you have already seen this article floating that says that the vaccinated are the ones now being hospitalized and dying the most, okay, over the unvaccinated. Thank you so much, the Writer Walker, for the super sticker, $10 super chat. Thank you for the support. It pains me. Like y'all, I'm not just saying this. When I think about it, it hurts my feelings what they have done to this country, what they have done to us as neighbors, what they have done pitting people against each other, what they have done allowing some of our family members to die in hospitals alone while they went to get their hair done, while they went to attend protests, while they went to football games and parties in Calabasas. It makes me upset. It makes me upset. Like, and it's almost surreal now. It's surreal because so many people are out there trying to pretend. So many people want to move on with their lives, and we haven't even begun to see all of the fallout from this yet. And it makes me so upset that as this truth comes out, it it will not, I want the truth to be just as loud as the lies were. I want the truth to be just as loud as the lies were, and they'll never allow it to happen. They'll never allow it to happen. They have to clean their karma. We knew this. I said this during the time of the lockdowns. I said the truth is gonna come out. It's gonna come out. Maybe a year, maybe 5 years. Some of this stuff, I don't think we may even see the full fallout for 10 years in terms of how it's going to affect people's finances, the inflation, people that lost jobs, people that lost businesses, children that are behind in their education, children that are going to have speech impediments. And then we don't even know. We don't even know the long-term effects of the vaccinations. That's its own thing. So the immense fallout is just beginning. It's just beginning. And it upsets me. It upsets me that we've allowed this to happen. And I look at China, and I suppose, I guess we can be happy that it didn't get that far, and yet and still we are definitely going to deal with and feel the ramifications of every single thing we allowed, every single trampling of our human rights, our freedom, and even our freaking common sense. Our common sense. Because some of it was just absolutely nonsensical. Y'all know it was. Y'all know it was. And it's not just about doing anything or doing something. It's about doing the right things that make sense. And I could go into talking about all the nonsensical things that were happening during COVID, and that would be a complete show of its own. Kid Gravity Beyond, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. He says salute, and we are the pure bloods. When I see what's happening in China, we are okay, how can I put this? We are being hit from so many different angles. Things are happening simultaneously. And we have to keep an eye on all of these things. And regardless of the players on the chessboard at the time, they are coming for free speech. They are coming for our Second Amendment rights. I mean, all of these things are important. It's not just one or the other. And it is affecting us from an over-policing standpoint, a surveilling standpoint, a human rights abuse standpoint. The attempts to, if we cannot speak freely, if we cannot share these ideas, if we cannot see what is going on, I'm telling y'all, we could be only a few generations, if that, from looking like a China, if we were to ever concede. These things can happen so quickly. I learned things can happen so quickly when, in the blink of an eye, it's like a mainstream narrative now to say there's no difference, biological difference between a man and a woman. And if something like that can happen so quickly, like in my lifetime, I don't doubt the narratives that could be created, the propaganda that could be unleashed. And once we start letting them control the narrative and control the speech and then you start having these human rights violations happening, you start having these abuses, then you can block that narrative off from the whole world, and people don't even know what's going on in the country because you've steadily conceded, conceded, conceded. Oh, we gave up this right. Oh, we gave them an inch. Oh, we gave them a next inch. Oh, we gave, and then the next thing you know, it's a mile. It's crazy to me that people really think, oh, we can never be China, right? Like, oh, we have our guns to protect us. And absolutely, that's a big part of why I support the Second Amendment, is because so we can have these protections, this protection that, yes, was actually created. Well, I don't want to say created, but set in place as written in the Constitution for our protection against the government, right? And it's just crazy to me when I look at Canada and I see what is happening in Canada and how quickly it's happening, specifically recently with their gun rights. And I'm like, yeah, like we're really close to Canada, you know, it's like our neighbor. And so to see things happening like that, it's like, man, like we should never, ever, ever take these things for granted. We should never take these things for granted. Like, not for a second, not for a blink of an eye. Um, so, but all right, y'all. So, with that said, let's not bend the knee. Let's not concede. Let's be committed to protecting human rights, speaking out regardless of who's in office, regardless of when it's popular or viral. Um, Speaking up for these things, regardless of when you get the pushback. A lot of us were, they tried to bully us during the whole COVID lockdown thing, but we're still here. We came out stronger, bigger, and better. Many of us have no regrets, healthy, thank God, and doing well, and hope to continue doing so. And so, if anything other than that, hopefully we came out knowing that we got the same bodies and DNA and immune systems that we came into COVID with. So, thank you so much to everyone that has super chatted. Thank you to everyone that supports this channel. Please give a thumbs up to this channel. Also, share this video. If you are not subscribed to this channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. All of my information is over at RhondaMary.com. You can find where to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, you can grab one of There's No Freedom Without Medical Freedom sweatshirts over on RhondaMary.com. And we will be talking soon. Y'all have a good night. Bye.